2 Team Celebration Series Race 11, your complete Zwift racing guide tutorial. We're going to be watching the Team Celebration Series. I have a list of things to talk about. This is your complete guide, everything you ever wanted to know about Zwift racing. We have basic strategy, we have intermediate strategy, and we have advanced strategy. So this is everything. We're covering power-ups, we're covering strategy, we're covering everything you want to do. We prepared a lot. So here we go. We have 20 seconds. I'm here early because I want to highlight the start. The start is the most important thing in Zwift racing. Hard start. Always hard start. So here we go. We have 10 seconds. The A's, their FTP is 4.0 or above. So you're going to see starts for them anywhere from 6 to 10 watts per kilogram. So here they go. Let me click a rider real quick. Here's Joe Leaf, a rider we know. So you can see his numbers: 8.0, 8.6, close to 9. So to give you a relative number, his FTP is close to 4.5, and he's going out at 9. So that just goes to show you he's going double. However, this isn't going to last the whole race. This is only going to last a brief amount of time. And the goal here is to catch anyone off guard, to catch any racers who aren't prepared to go immediately off the line. So your first rule in Zwift racing is you have to be warmed up when the clock strikes 0. Another tip, when the countdown clock hits, it's going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Once that 3 hits, you have to put out the maximum power, because most people's standard setting on their trainer is your 3-second average power. So that's why at 3 seconds, it's the most important that you need to start maximizing your power, because the screen output, the 390 that we're seeing in the top left right now, is an average of your 3 seconds. So if you're putting out 0 at 3, 0 at 2, 0 at 1, and then you explode, it's going to average those 2 zeros with your extreme power. So that's why you're always thinking about blasting off at the line with your 3-second average. So here we are. We're in the A race. That was your first strategy. So let me show you the basics of Zwift racing. Let's see if we can get this. Okay, here we go. Here's our little prompt. Number 1, start fast, no matter what. This is going to be your reference to come back to at all races. This is for beginners. This is for experts. I'm going to keep this online so you can reference it for eternity. So number 1, fast start. We covered that. Number 2, stay in the pack no matter what. And number 3, ride as easy as possible. I know it's counterintuitive, but I want to go over those things. So staying in the pack. So a lot of these riders you're going to see, so here's Hoare at 5.1 on the front. Here's Jim McQuaid at 7.0 on the front. It's unnecessary. If we go to the back, here's Otto at 3.0 and 3.1. There's no difference in these riders. However, a rider putting out 7.0 versus 3.0, it's not necessary to put out that 7.0 because they're both in the pack. So when you're in the pack, you have to go as easy as possible. But above that, rule number 2 is staying in the pack no matter what. So if you have to put out red numbers, whatever you need to do, you have to stay in that pack no matter what. Those are the 3 basic rules of Zwift racing. Number 1, start fast. Number 2, you stay in that pack no matter what. And number 3, if you're in the pack, you're going as easy as possible, because it doesn't benefit you whatsoever to exert more energy in the pack versus someone exerting less. So here they go. This course we're doing is LaGuardia Loop, one of the flattest crit courses on the map. And you can see right now a rider cranking out 700 watts. This is the only slight incline in the entire race. It's likely not going to stick. It's likely that he's just using this hill to get ahead so he can then recover. And here you can see exactly what he's doing. He blasted off so he can now recover in the 100s, and he can recover while all the rest of the other riders are chasing him down. So we're doing, I believe, 8 laps for the A's, 7 for the B's, and I think 6 and 5 for the C's and the D's. So we did the basic strategy. This is going to be a very short race, only about 30 minutes. That was your 3 basic rules. So let's take it one step further. All of these riders likely prepared for the race. And in your preparation, you're going to have your course knowledge and your competitor list. So those are the 2 things that you have at hand to prepare for each race. I know it sounds like a big deal preparing for a Zwift race, but it's easy. It almost takes less than 5 seconds. So here's your preparation for the race. Your preparation is right here. This is your start list. These are all the riders on Zwift Power signed up for this race. You can sort them by 20-minute power. You can sort them by 15-second power. You can see who can sprint. You can see what you need to do. You can sort by who's in your category. This is 50% of your preparation. The other 50% is right here. This is the course. So if you scroll down, you can see this is the elevation of the course. Right here, it's 22 meters to 28. There's a 6-meter elevation gain throughout this entire lap. That's nothing. Okay, so we covered the 2 things you need to do before the race to prepare. Check your competitors out and check what the course is like. This course, completely flat. And if you can sprint, you have to compare your sprint numbers versus other people's sprint numbers, because as a flat course, you have to assume it's going to come down to a sprint. If you don't have a sprint, you have to be prepared to make an early move versus crossing your fingers and hoping you can out sprint some of the faster guys. Okay, so that's your preparation right now. Let me go back to the race. Because this is a race, I want to cover the race and the tutorial all in one. We're looking at ZWIFT Cryogen. He's there every single week. Big supporter of ours. We'll give him a ride on. I saw a lot of big names. You can see right now they're crossing through the D's. And this is a hairy point. If you're ever crossing paths with different category riders, you always have to be aware of sticky draft. And when I say sticky draft, that means you can get stuck behind someone while the rest of the A's ride away. It's less likely to happen between an A and a D, but when the categories are closer together, like C and B or A and B, this can happen, and that's what you have to be aware of. Okay, so we covered the basics and we covered your preparation. Now we can start the race, okay? Looking at the screen, you have a lot of things. You have tools, right? Everyone knows what your tools are, but your toolkit is full of all these different things. So you can see your power and your heart rate in the top left, and then you can see the mini map in the top right, and then you can see your competitors' numbers on the right hand side. So you're always scanning these different tools. So right now is a perfect time to scan. I see a red number, it's jumping out. I see Jay White. I'm just staying alert as a rider. I don't need to necessarily do anything, because then I scan up to the mini map where my cursor is in the top right. I don't see any string out, but I'm aware that I saw a red number and that I should be alert because a breakaway could happen. So as we go the slight downhill, I'm scanning the numbers. I'm seeing the gray numbers, which are lower. So gray is minimal power. Like a bolded white is kind of like around your FTP, around a tempo effort. And then a red number is an extremely high power number. So you're always looking at these different tints and these different fonts to get your cues. So you're always scanning your other riders' numbers. You're always scanning the mini map in the top right, because you can see it's a tightly wound pack right now. But at some point, there might be one dot starting to float away. When that one dot starts to float away, you have to expect other riders are going to chase. And that's when you have to kind of jump in and get alert. So these are all your tools. You're trying to lower your heart rate throughout the race. You're scanning the other riders' numbers. You're scanning your top right, your mini map, seeing if anyone's trying to break away, looking at the inclines, feeling the inclines. So you're doing all of these things while you're racing. It's all about staying alert and paying attention. Back to the race. Let me take a break from that. So this is the A riders. Like I said, the A's are doing 8 laps, I think. That's what I said. Jay Moriard, we've seen him a lot. A lot of these other names. I'm looking for a sprinter. 40. He's a veteran racer, 140 beats per minute. It's very unlikely that a breakaway is going to stick in this type of race because it's so flat. There's not even the smallest point to break away. Johnny Rocket, I know I always talk about him, one of my favorite riders, sitting exactly in the perfect spot, going as easy as he can, 200 watts. He is utilizing his tools to the maximum capability that he can. I want to take this tutorial from a perspective of we're not the best racers. I don't have the most power. My FTP isn't 5 to 6. I'm utilizing my FTP and what I have in my pocket as best as possible versus the other riders. So here we are, there's 27 here. I'm interested to see how many will survive because I have a feeling at least 20 are going to finish with this pack. And you can see these riders, they're crossing paths right now with some of the C's, and you can see the different colors up here in the top right of the minimap. That's another thing you have to stay alert. So they're getting closer to people who can maintain their power. So when they pass these C's, they have to pass with speed, or else someone might get caught. And I want to see someone get caught just so I could show you guys, but I don't think anyone is going to get caught. So here they go, a little downhill. And I know these A's are going to go uphill with a lot of speed. So let's see this small pack of C's. So you can see all these riders have 4+. If any of them don't quite have that power right now, they might get stuck with these C's. So here, Pollock quite possibly got stuck behind this rider, Appleton. So this is exactly what's happening right now. Okay, so Pollock saw that, and you see this little gap that's formed between Pollock and Jim McQuaid right in front of him, and that was because of the C rider who he got stickied behind. So he could have been riding at a higher pace than the C rider, but because of the draft, because of the sticky features, he was stuck behind the rider. So that's just something to be aware of, just more things to be cognizant about. Zwift racing takes a lot of focus, a lot of paying attention. You're always looking at the riders, you're feeling the momentum of the course. Again, you're scanning all your tools. You're always going back to your core principles of staying in the pack and going as easy as possible in the pack. Let's find Johnny Rocket. I have a feeling I know exactly where he's going to be, tucked in comfortably, getting his power down 3.1 compared to some of the other riders at a 5 or a 6. Okay, so there's the Rocket. I have a whole bunch of things to talk about. Let me quickly talk about power-ups, just because I want to cover everything. So power-ups. This race doesn't use power-ups, but power-ups are a huge deal in racing. Another junction where they're crossing the C's, but I don't believe anyone was caught. Okay, still 27 riders here. So power-ups. This race doesn't use power-ups. You get a power-up at every start-finish banner or every sprint or KOM banner. This is the power-up. This is when to use a power-up. There's 3 instances when you want to use a power-up. You want to use a power-up. Oops, wrong one. Boom. To get a better power-up. So the first instance you would use a power-up is to get a better power-up, meaning you have a feather power-up and you're on a flat course like this. You dump your power-up or you use your power-up in order to get a new one. You can't get a power-up if you have a power-up. You can use your power-up through the banner and receive a new power-up. That's the ideal strategy if you have a power-up that you don't want to use. So in this course, if you have a feather, you'll see riders riding through the banner with the feather at the last possible moment to use it, and therefore they'll hopefully get a new van or an aero power-up. The second reason you would use a power-up is to survive. That survival is to stay in the pack. So if the pack is getting away and you're absolutely killing yourself to stay in there, you should use a power-up. Third is to win. If you have an aero power-up, save it till the end, sprint with the aero power-up, it's to win. If you want to make a breakaway, use a feather, use a ghost, use a burrito to win. There are only 3 instances to use a power-up. Those are the 3. To get a better one, to survive in the pack, or to win. To make a winning move, a breakaway, a sprint, etc. Okay. And I know there are new power-ups, and I want to quickly talk about them, but the basic power-ups, this is the in-play strategy unless the race has a custom power-up. So you can manipulate the odds where it's, say, 50% of the time you get a burrito, 50% of the time you get an arrow. But the standard in-place statistics are basically 1/4% you either get a lightweight, a draft, an arrow, or experience. So I can quickly talk about those, but an arrow boost reduces your drag for 15 seconds, a draft doubles your draft for 30 seconds, a lightweight reduces your weight for 15 seconds, and the bonus is experience. So those are basically the experience points. Still, let me just quickly talk about this race. I know I'm going back and forth a lot, but that's because I don't want to inundate you with too much information all at once. I know I'm talking a lot of information, but the more you ride, the more you race, the more you'll get a feel of these sort of things, and it'll all just become second nature. So again, they're crossing over some C's right now. This looks like the main C pack. So if you're an alert C rider, you can latch on to these A's, and that could get a little sketchy for these A riders. So I want to click the back and follow the tail end of the A's, because if anyone has a risk of getting caught, it's going to be at the tail end of the race. This is one of those moments where you have to use your mini map, which is one of your tools, stay alert. You got to pass with speed, and that's exactly what this track mob is doing. He's passing with speed and urgency, because the whole pack is aware that these C's are going to do everything they can to hang on, and you can't be the guy behind a C rider when they decide it's just too much. And Pollock is getting close to this position, and there's Daniel Larson, and I think everyone made it through. Here are the C riders. Here's Eric Dickus, Ryan Deadpool Miller, who I think is one of the most famous C riders. I don't know if Perino is grabbing onto the wheel. This strategy it's debatable, but it's available for everyone to use. So there is two C riders that are able to hold on the wheel, and looks like they're well within the bounds at 1.6 and 3.3. So it's going to be a tough race. These C's are going to have to work together to catch those two riders now. Okay, back up to the A's. So we talked about power-ups. The two new power-ups are the Burrito and the Ghost. Both power-ups are only 10 seconds. Very, very short. I don't have too much to say. The Burrito, no one can draft behind you, and the Ghost, you're invisible, but it's only 10 seconds, so I don't see it making a huge impact in the community at the moment. Okay, so we're still, I think 3 or 4 C riders are on this wheel, and it's so close. Mould is giving it everything he can, but every second that these guys grow further and farther and farther away from the main pack, it's more likelihood that they're able to win. And this is such a short race. It's only going to be 30 minutes or less for these riders. So, I mean, these C's are making winning moves right now. I decided to do this tutorial because this is the flattest race. Like I said, all 28 riders are still here 16 minutes later, which is so rare to find in a ZWIFT race. Outside of this one little incline, which is only 10 seconds, you're not going to see red numbers too often in this race. It's going to come down to a long sprint finish. I think it's going to be about a 1-minute power test for these guys. I see the name Brian B. Hodges, who I think he has the fastest power, 15-second power in this pack. But I know 40 will probably try to make a move, whether it's a mile out or 2 miles out. And there's Jim McQuaid, who's still remaining on the power even downhill. Give him a ride on, let him know we're talking about him. Still coming back together. Maybe 1A in the back, the Rocket, but I have a feeling the Rocket will be fine. But it looks like all the C riders are dropped. I don't know if 27 seconds, 29 seconds is going to be enough, but if they can work together, sort of group up, that could be an exciting little breakaway finish. Okay, so we did the basic strategy. We did your preparation, your power-ups. Okay, the last thing I'm going to talk about is, and then I'm going to focus on this race, is advanced strategy. So advanced strategy, these are high-level strategies used by some of the best A riders out there. Let's check it out. Okay, advanced strategy. First one, variability. Second one, trainer difficulty adjustment. And the third one is sticky drafting. So let's go to the third one first. I talked about sticky drafting between categories outside of your own, but you can sticky draft within your category. Very, 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 very high level, almost impossible to do, but when done correctly, it can be absolutely brutal. So let's talk about this sticky drafting. If you're stuck behind a rider, it's very hard to get around the rider. So when you're in the pack, you're putting a lot of trust in the riders in front of you to maintain pace and stay in the draft. But a team strategy or an individual strategy could be to catch one or two guys off guard. So say we're watching LM. So LM is in single file, basically behind Johnny Rocket. His whole draft is right now behind the Rocket. Or let's go to the Rocket because he's in the final position. So let's say LM slowly decreases his pace to where he has a 5-meter gap. The Rocket now has to increase his pace around the rider and then close the gap himself. It's difficult. It's not quite kosher, but it happens a lot with some of these best riders. And if you have more than one or two guys, you can sort of keep doing this to a couple riders and just absolutely exhaust them. You always have to be alert of what people are doing in front of you, and that's why I'm always talking about the toolkit. So you're always looking at the one or two right in front of you, and you're looking at their numbers compared to your numbers. That's one of the advanced strategies. Another one is your trainer difficulty. So the trainer difficulty is automatically set at 50%. Everyone knows it's at 50%. No one really knows what it means, but you can adjust it before the race and you can adjust it mid-race and your avatar won't stop. So this kind of course, 100% trainer adjustment will mean that you feel every single 3% increase, 4% increase, exactly like you would do outside. The automatic 50% setting means it's 50% of that incline. Therefore, if you have your trainer difficulty less than 50%, all these little undulations, you probably won't have to change gears. But if it's at 100%, it's a lot of gear changing. However, for an uphill finish, you'll be able to feel that resistance, even if you don't necessarily have that sprint. If an uphill resistance, your trainer will increase the resistance for the finish. So you can change this mid-race. So if you have a hilly portion in the middle, you can reduce your trainer difficulty mid-race. And then if you have a sprint finish, you can increase your trainer difficulty for that sprint finish. So again, these are really, really, really high level strategies that only the best A guys are executing. But I just want everyone aware of all the strategies that people are implementing. So these are all tools available for everyone to use. It's all fair game. And then your last advanced strategy is your variability. You can ride like the Rocket. This is a tough one. So like I said, variability is really tough. And I know I always talk about the Rocket, but the people who win races are the ones with the most variability. They're always recovering when they can recover, and they're always going as hard as they can during these small little uphills. And let me see if I can show you quickly. So you can see these are the results from the earlier team celebration series. You can see Holden is the winner, and you can see the variability in these normalized power numbers where my cursor is hovering. You can see his variability of 16%. So at portions, he's going 15.0 for his sprint, but he's only averaging 4.1. And that's the thing. Sometimes the lowest averages turn out to be the winners. So it's not worth it to put out all these maximum efforts. And that's what I'm talking about, is staying easy as you can in the draft. But on the other hand, you can take it to an extreme. You can go down to 0 if you need, and you're always trying to tinker with that variability. The more variable you can ride, the more successful you're going to be in a Zwift race. The lower you can ride in the pack, just like a 40 or some of these more experienced guys, the more matches you're going to have later in the race, the better you're going to feel later in the race. You're always trying to save as much as you can for the end of the race, for the late stages of the race. There's no need to ride on the front if you can ride on the back at 2 watts per kilogram less. It's not going to get you any more successful in the race. Okay, that was a lot. That was your 25 minute tutorial on Zwift racing. If you're referencing this video sometime in the future, you can end it here. I'm going to figure out more ways to talk about Zwift racing, but I'm going to cover this race right now. I'm going to talk about the principles we learned throughout the race, and I just want this as a reference to anyone new to Zwift racing, anyone hesitant about joining, you don't know what to expect, what's going to happen in the race. Join a flat race, look at the course, Stay in the pack, start hard, and go as easy as you can in the pack. Find others to ride with. That's going to be your key to success in Zwift racing. Okay, so I believe we're looking at 2 more laps for the A's. Okay, thank you for joining. Okay. I think watts per kilogram goes red at 7 or 7.5, something like that. I don't know if it's different. I don't know the exact number, but all I know is 7 might be red. So that might be specific to each rider. I don't know that exact nuance. It looks like we caught not the Rocket, Otto possibly. Otto right off the back, so close, but the Rocket again perfectly. If this is a race for anyone, it's the Rocket. Oh, okay, 8 watts per kilogram is red. All right, so if you have any other tips or anything I didn't cover, whether it's basic strategy or simple strategy, you can comment and I could talk about it. Or if there's something that I don't know, you can drop some knowledge on me. I would love to learn. Okay, so all the tools, back to the toolkit. I see a red dot in the front. If I'm in the back, I need to be alert. I need to jump on. I don't need to necessarily jump on the power, but I just need to jump on my focus, because if anything's going to happen, it's going to happen when the pack is strung out and I'm at the back. Here's Nellis. Nellis looking good, cranking out 8.0. This is a team race. This is the 11th race of a 12 race series. Only one more race in this series. It's sad. It's been a fun 12 weeks. We've covered, I think, 11 of the 12 weeks live. It's been great. This is a great flat stage to end it. Let's look up front. Ryder just bringing it back down. Give him a ride on. Still, this pack is very together. Let's see if we could grab another category. So here's Vinksel. She's a great rider. We love her on the team. Oh, by the way, you got to check out my shirt. Okay, I know like most of you aren't American, but this shirt is seriously badass. Just check it out. I mean, come on, is that not like one of the coolest shirts you could design? I know we've made some best friend shirts, but we have some extra if you want. But these are really just supposed to be for a limited edition, but we have some more. Okay, sorry, I just had to show you. Again, Hodges, I believe, has the highest 15-second power output. So if you want to win this race and you're not Hodges, you have to do something before that finish line. Let me talk about one more thing. It's a little tricky. Again, I think they're going into their last lap or their second to last lap. But I'm just clicking back. I want to see. We saw the C's. We saw that 4-pack of C breakaway. This looks like he's in first place, but he's only 11 seconds ahead of this front C pack. So I think he's gonna get caught. Let me click down to the B's. I didn't really see what's going on in the B's. Okay, so the B's have a really big pack. Okay, here's Kieran McKenna. So I know this is the main front pack of the B's because here's Kieran. Oh, Andrew Robinson. We've seen Andrew live. I know I say the same thing every time. Looks like 31 riders. Okay, 31 riders. Mulholland is holding the back. Tons of TFC guys. Tons of dirt. I see a couple Kirkmeyer. I see a CLS jersey. And always, of course, Cryogen. So I just want to give... Oh, here's Mark Worthington. One of the best B riders in the game. Ned Bowen. We see him every week. Some great guys in here. I want to highlight all these. Joe Davies. I think he may have done the earlier race, but all these great people behind these avatars. I know it's just an avatar riding, but all these guys behind it are really, really great guys. I know a lot of them. Just fun people having a good time together. Okay, the Rocket. I think they're going into their last lap. Someone say something if I'm wrong. Look for big guys. Okay, so that's a good advanced technique, is to find a big guy and to hide behind the big guy. That's what happens when we want to do a breakaway, is sometimes we need a big guy to produce the big boy watts. So if you weigh 100 kilos, your FTP might only be 4.0, but that's 400 watts. So if you're trying to make a breakaway, you have to make a breakaway with the right guys. If light guys are doing breakaways, they're not going to survive solo versus a fast moving pack. All right, This is the final race. This is the final stretch of this A race. Let's see what's going to happen. Here's Iverson at 10.3. So a lot of these guys might be able to hold 10.0 for a minute. This is what I want to look out for. These guys are 4 seconds back. I don't know if that's enough, but if you don't have that sprint, you have to make a move. You have to make something happen early on. So here they go. They have about 2 minutes left until the race begins, but someone's got to take charge at the front, and it looks like someone is. This is, I don't want to say Hoare, but it's Hoare from CLS. Okay, there's Jim McQuaid on second wheel. He knows exactly where to be. There's Brian Hodges perfectly, the sprinter, getting ready for that final sprint section. I'm expecting something from 40, maybe Joe Leaf, some of these guys who don't have that sprint. You have to stay on it starting now. You can see in the top right all these colors getting mixed up. You can't get stickied at this moment. You have to be alert. You got to stay in this bunch. I told you it's going to be a 1 minute power test, and you see these numbers, these 7s, these 8s, and they're just holding it, and you still have to have a sprint in the bank even after all these efforts. There's Mergelas. It looks like he's brought it down to 3 seconds to Iverson. Iverson might be dying out right now. Only 1 second right now. It's all discombobulated. All the colors are coming together. What a finish, because everyone's going maximum speed. This is the finish for a bunch of different categories. There's Joe Leaf. Here's Hoare. Let's click on Hodges. Let's remain on Hodges. He's trying to take a breath. There he goes. I don't know if it's going to be enough. He's going a little late. The sprint is going to take 11 seconds. But there he goes, 15.0, 14.6. He's the man to look out for. There's no one in front of him. Is he going to be able to hold that daylight? Hoare is closing on him, but I don't know. It's going to be so close, but it's Hodges. It's Hodges followed by Hoare. And Joe Leaf is third. Phenomenal finish for him. I want to see if we can find the rocket. I can't click him right now. Everyone is just going crazy right now, so I can't see him. But what a finish for Hodges. And then it was someone, and then it was Joe Leaf. So that was a great finish for all the racers. So that was A, B, and C finish. I don't think D quite finished yet. I have time, so I might as well grab the D riders. Oh, and I think this is Tam Burns. I think he is the head of the Cryogen team, so it's good to see him. I'm clicking up to see the front pack of these Ds. Okay, so here they are. A couple D's mixed in with a B and a C. Here's Vinxel. She's trying to get that wheel so close. Let me click the live results so we can see we're following Vinxel right now. Again, 11th race of the Team Celebration Series. Only one more race left. It's so sad. The one more race left is the Watopia Figure 8, which is going to be great. So it looks like Jessen, Marius, Zawadzki, Metro, and Vinxel are all within category limits. So everyone is looking good in this D pack. Oh, a 7.8 in the D. That's 800 watts. 7.8. That's a lot of watts. So this is a big rider you want to hide behind. Oh, and there goes Zawadzki at 12.0. Ooh, these are fast numbers for these Ds. And there's Vinxel at 7 at 370 watts. So a huge discrepancy in some of the size of these riders. But what a finish with Jessen and Zawadzki and all these riders. Amazing to see. So that's a wrap on your ZWIFT tutorial, A to Z. Everything you need to know from beginner to advanced to intermediate. Hopefully you can watch this in the future and learn everything you need to know. I'll be linking this for all you future ZWIFT racers. Enjoy it out there. Stay safe. This is Sterny. I'm out. I love you guys.